Hello everyone, today we're going to be implementing JSON parsing using Volley. So let's first create an Android project. We start with empty views activity. Let's name this JSON Parsing and hit on finish. The language we've selected is Java. Let the project be built. Take it to full screen. Okay, I'll try to increase the font size so that the code is clear to you. Okay, so this should be okay. While the project is being built, I'm going to remove a few things that I don't need right now. I only need set content view here, nothing else on this activity, and I'll allow the project to be built first. While the project is being built, we'll first select our JSON that we are going to be parsing. So open any browser and I'll take a sample JSON code here. Okay, let's go to this one. So we'll first try the get method here. Not like this. So if we see it in this particular way, then we see that this is a JSON data with a square bracket, a curly bracket object, a curly bracket object, a curly bracket object, and inside each curly bracket there are keys and values here. Okay, so the keys are always strings and the values can be in any other format. So yeah, if we have this particular data and if we want to show the title and body of I'm not sure how many data are there. So if I want to display all of these in a particular view, like a list view or recycle view, then I'm going to teach you how to do this. So first of all, I'm going to copy this URL, come back to our Android Studio. The project is still being built, but I think I can create at least a single string variable. So this is going to be my URL. Okay, the project build is complete. First of all, we're going to add a dependency statement for our Volley library. So go to Gradle script, build.gradle.kts, and then down here add implementation com.android.volley.volley:1.2.1, and after you add this statement, I think there's a new version or something like that. Okay, I'm not going to change the type here. I'm going to keep it as it is, and then it's synced now. It will still run even though we don't convert it into like types like this. So the system is going to download this particular Volley library, and once the sync is complete, the Volley library download is also complete. Now we can use this Volley library for JSON parsing basically. One thing I'm going to add here is I'm going to create a data model class, and then this class is going to contain those variables that we're going to import here. So we have private string, like I said, we're going to import title, and then we'll also add our body from our JSON data. Let me reopen our JSON again. Sorry, I closed it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull out title and body from each of these objects here. So we'll have title and body. We'll create getters and setters for each of them. Hit on OK. So now we have getters and setters. Let's go back to our main activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two objects here. The first object is going to be for request queue, which is I'll just name this RQ. I'm not going to initialize this right now. Another object is going to be string request object. Again, both of these come from the Volley library that we've just downloaded. So let me name this SR. Again, they are still uninitialized, so I'll come down here and what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize request queue. This will be volley dot new request queue, and yeah, as a context I'm going to pass this class name main activity dot this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define our string request. So be careful here. Our string request initialization is going to contain 4 different parameters. The first parameter is the type of method that we're going to call while placing this HTTPS request. So this particular method is going to be request dot method dot, okay, let me do this again, request from volley package request dot method dot get. The second parameter it's asking is our URL, so we already have where to the URL where we want to place our get request here. Now the remaining 2 parameters are the response listener as well as the error listener. So once we place the HTTPS request, we're either going to get a response from the server or we're not going to get a response from the server. So if we get a positive response for the server, meaning that we get this particular data from the server, there should be a placeholder of how we are going to handle that data. So for the third parameter, we're going to import a response dot listener, and then in the fourth parameter we're going to add a error dot listener to do things if we cannot get this particular data. So basically why are we not going to get this data? Could be because we've made some mistakes in our URL, or maybe the URL is not up, maybe we don't get any response from that particular URL. In that case I'm going to display a toast message. So I'll pass a context, I'll pass could not fetch data from the server, and then the last is going to be my length long or length short, how long I would like to show the toast, so toast of length long, and then finally followed by a dot show method. Okay, this is for the one where we don't get any response. But what about the one if we get any kind of response from the server? So if we get a positive response from the server and then we get this data, this entire data that you see here is going to come in the form of a string. So all of this data after placing the HTTP request is going to be accommodated in this particular single string variable here. So everything is inside this response. Now what we need to do is we need to separate out what we exactly need from this particular data. So to understand JSON, we basically need to understand 2 different brackets, this particular square bracket here and then this particular curly braces or parenthesis here. So the square bracket typically represents a JSON array and the curly bracket typically represents a JSON object. So if we want to extract this particular title and body, we first need to filter out this particular array here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new JSON array. We'll name this ARR equals to new JSON array, and then where are we going to filter this from? We're going to filter this out from our response or the string that we get after we place our HTTPS request. Okay, so we are already inside this particular array. If you see the behavior of an array, there are multiple objects inside this particular array. So if we want to access every object of this particular array, what we want to do is we would like to iterate over its index here. Now again, like I said, the curly bracket indicates the JSON object. So what I'm going to do is, since I don't know how many objects are there inside this array, so I'm simply going to create a for loop here for integer I equals to 0, I is less than arr.length, and then I'll hit I++. Now inside this, what I'm going to create is, because there are objects inside array, so I'm going to initialize a JSON object obj equals to the nearest link to this particular object, or the object that we see here is the array. So that particular array is indicated by arr, so I'm going to hit this using arr dot get JSON object. Since now array contains multiple data which are separated out by indexes, so the value that I should provide here is the index, since I'm iterating from index 0 to the length of the array. So I'll simply put I here. Okay, once I'm inside this particular object, now we see that I directly have this access to title and body here based on the key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a data model object. Let's name this dm equals to new data model. So dm dot add or dm dot set title. So the title part is going to be extracted from this particular object here. So it's going to be obj dot, the title content is in string, so I'm going to do get string and then place my key title in this particular part here. Similarly, I can also set my body. So this is going to be obj dot get string. Again, the body is in the form of string, so this will contain body here. Now if we iterate this particular loop multiple times, it is going to go through each and every object one by one. First of all, it will go to this object, second it will go to this object, third it will go through this particular object here, and then we try to extract each of these title and body during the for loop iteration. So what we have missed here is we also need to store this particular data or the extracted data during each iteration. So I'm going to use a data type called ArrayList here. ArrayList, the type is going to be data model. Let's name this data equals to new ArrayList. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the extracted data to this particular data source here. At first the variable data is empty, but once I go through this for loop each time until the length of the array, all of my extracted content are already added to this particular data. Okay, now the only task that remains is to show this data in a particular view. So what I'm going to do is one more thing I'm going to add is connect this request queue and string request. So what I'm going to do is request queue dot add string request here at the end after the on error response listener, and then overall SR initialization I'm going to add this argue dot add SR. So now we simply want to show our data. Okay, one more thing that I want to mention here is, so if you hover through each and every array shows an exception here. So this is also going to be an exception, this is also an exception, this is also an exception, and then this is also an exception. And then if you see, all of these are JSON exceptions, meaning there is a URL where you know that you have an array but the system does not, and then you know that after this array there are multiple objects which the system is not sure yet, and then inside each object there are strings. You have told that based on your manual inspection, but the system is unsure because it has not placed its request to the server. So in case you made some manual mistakes here in maybe mentioning the URL or maybe indicating object instead of array or array instead of object, the system will directly crash. So what the system wants you to do is place all of these inside a try catch. So if you place this inside a try catch, even if you made some error, the system is not going to crash. Those particular exceptions are going to be handled by your catch part here. And then inside this I'm going to show a toast message, toast.makeText. Again I'll provide a context, and then the message is going to be error in parsing data, and then the duration will be, let's keep its length long, and then followed by a show method at the end. Okay, so most of our parsing part is already done. Now all we have to do is display our data in some kind of view. So what I'm going to do is go to activity_main, go to the code part. I'm going to remove this constant layout part, just add a recycler view. recycler view from here, and then add width, match parent, height, match parent, and then place an ID here. So this ID is going to be RV. Remember, the recycler view library that you've been able to access is from the material library that is already placed here. Okay, and then the constant layout that was previously there was there because we have imported this particular constant layout library. Similarly, today we downloaded the Volley library, and hence we've used the string request and request queue part here. Okay, now we'll go back to our main activity. We have a new object called recycler view. Recycler view, let's call this RV again. We're going to initialize this. So RV equals to find view by ID, r.id.rv. One more thing, we're going to add a layout manager here. So rv.set layout manager equals to new linear layout manager, and then we again need to provide a context. So I'll pass main activity.this as a context here. Okay, so this is all I have to do here. One more thing, I'm going to utilize this particular recycler view, and then I'm going to display my data here. So rv.set adapter new, let's call a custom adapter class, and then pass two parameter. I'll pass a context here, main activity.this, and then the other will be data. So this is basically for data display part here. Now hit Alt and Enter on this custom adapter. Basically, I'm going to create this class, create class. The package is okay, hit on OK. So yeah, we basically call a constructor where we pass two parameters. One is a context, and then other is my data source. One more thing that I'm going to add here is extends recycler view.adapter. Here I'm going to add custom adapter dot my view holder, and then my view holder is going to be an inner class which we've not initialized yet. So yeah, now click on this one, hit Alt and Enter, implement methods. You get three methods: on create view, on bind view, and get item count. Implement all of these methods, and then we have these methods again. Like I said, we're going to create an inner class, public inner class. Okay, I don't need to mention. Okay, public class my view holder extends recycler, or just type view holder. I think it will provide me the suggestion. Okay, so I have this my view holder class which is inside my custom adapter, and then this extends recycler view holder. Hit Alt and Enter, create constructor matching super. Okay, I have a constructor with a super keyword, and its type is view. Now we go back to our context here. So since we have two different parameters in our constructor, I'm going to create a similar object with global scope just above the constructor, because I'm going to copy my data that is in the constructor to those global variables. So again, array list data model, let's call it my data. My data equals to new array list. Now inside the constructor, I'm going to copy C equals to main activity. My data equals to data. Okay, now we go to this particular function, get item count. This function takes in the control of how much data we want to display in our screen. So I'm just going to do my data dot size here, so which means it will display all the data that we have parsed. Now we go to our on create view holder. In this on create view holder, we basically inflate our new layouts. So let's do view, we'll name this convert view equals to layout inflator dot from, we need a context variable. We already have a context called C dot inflate. So this will be r dot layout dot, we'll name this single item for now because I've not created any kind of variable right now. Single item, and then the second parameter is is going to be false. So I have this view convert view. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do return new view holder, and inside this I'm going to pass this convert view object. So new view holder will call this particular constructor here, and then the convert view will come in this particular place of item view here. So we'll create the single item UI, create layout resource file. Let's use a linear layout for now, since we only want to display two different content, a title and a body. I'll place two text views. Let's change this wrap content. I'm also going to do this particular layout height as wrap content. For linear layout, I'll place an ID here. This will show a title. Okay, this is all, and then I'll keep another text view, again wrap content, and then I'll provide an ID, and then this is going to be body, and then that is all. So this is all we need to build in our single item. Let's go back to customer adapter now. Okay, there is something wrong here. I think it should be null, not false. Yeah. Now since we have two different text views in single item, we need to initialize them using an object. So in my inner class called my view holder, I'm going to create two text views. Text view, one for title and another for body. I'm going to initialize them here. So title equals to, I obviously cannot do find view by ID directly because I want this particular object's ID to be searched in single item. So since this particular single item is connected to convert view and this convert view is passed here, so I have to do item view dot find view by ID r dot id dot my title, or my ID is title, and similarly I'm going to do for body. So my ID is body, and then this particular object will be a body object. Okay, so we've created a new layout for a single view. We've also initialized them here. Now basically what we need to do is we need to display our title and body in respective text views. We're going to do that in on-bind view holder. We already have a customer my view holder object here called holder. So using this holder object, what I can do is I can access this particular title on body. So holder dot title dot set text, data is going to go to my data dot get. So basically I need an index here which I already have in the form of position variable. So position dot get title, and similarly for body, holder dot body dot set text, my data dot get position dot get body. Okay, so everything is done. We've done our parsing part with our request queue and string request, and then we've also displayed our data here. One important thing that we always kind of miss out is go to our manifest. We don't declare our internet permission here because since the app uses internet, it fetches data from some kind of URL online. So we always need to provide a permission here. So user permission. The permission is going to be an internet permission that the system is going to use. Okay, and yeah, and that is it for the code. Now we'll run our application and then check if we correctly get our data or not. Okay, the app is installed and it's running, and I can see that the title and the bodies have been extracted. So this is all for this video. I hope you successfully have an app that can parse a JSON content well using Volley. So if you have any problems, or if you come across any errors, do comment down below and I'll try to help you out. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video with some new content. Thank you for watching.